right, everybody worked up a good sweat? Everybody okay in the back, sound-wise? All right. Coach, whenever you're ready.
All right, great to see y'all. Getting with y'all after we've had 4 practices so far. So it's been exciting. 2 were just in helmets and 2 has been in shells. So we've had, getting a feel for guys hitting a little bit and moving. And like I say, very excited about a lot of the older guys. Everybody talks about the young guys. Excited about a lot of older guys because older guys can make improvements too. And you watch them each and every year and be more consistent in some of the things you hope they take steps in. We get caught in developing younger guys, but as I say, you got to develop them caught in developing all your guys because those older guys have to take those steps to go to that next level and set great examples in practice of how to do things, the way to do things, not just from an effort standpoint, but from a technique standpoint, from a mental toughness standpoint. And, and showing those young guys that just because you get beat on one play, how you don't, because some of those guys aren't used to getting beat and how to go on to the next play and practicing with great tempo, practicing with great intensity, great responsibility, and not making the same mistakes each and every day. And I think our older guys are doing a pretty good job of that. They really are. And younger guys have accepted, getting plenty of reps. Everybody's getting plenty of reps. I asked them yesterday when it gets hot out there, and they say, because they always ask you in recruiting, Coach, am I going to get a chance to play? You going to give me a chance to play? Yeah, I'm going to get. Now all of a sudden they're all getting the same chance. Well, sometimes you have to, wait a minute, hurry up, get in there now. Make sure you want all those reps. Make sure you want all those reps. But it's funny just watching them learn the tempo and the way things are done in high levels of college football, those young guys. But it's been very pleasing to watch. That's one of my favorite things to watch is watch their eyes get big and then all of a sudden do something and say, I'm getting into this. So we're in the beginning stages, but I like our work ethic. I like our demeanor. Of course, we're nowhere as far as execution and things we're doing. But guys are getting all reps, are working hard, and very pleased with the young guys. I've been pleased with the older guys. And but there's still a lot of things we have to get better at. And like I say, that's our deal, to being able to finish, don't break as far as every play, every situation, understanding the power of preparation and how you have to practice to play well. Not just, anybody can sweat, but while you're sweating, are you doing it right? And the more you sweat, your technique and your assignments and alignments and all those things need to increase because that's when, that tests your mental toughness, all the things that the fortitude of wanting to be out there. And like I say, you're participating in game, but are you committed? And that's the question we ask them every day, and they're committed, I know. But what I'm saying is what commitment is, what doing it right is, no matter what your feelings are, how you feel, how sore you are, how tired you are, the standard of which you have to meet each and every play. And, that's what we're pushing to right now. So we're in the process of getting there, but, I think we're some great there's battles all over the field, and somebody's going to say, who's starting? Guys, it's 4 days in. They're all getting reps. Guys are moving around. But what I always say, competition eliminates complacency. And you get guys there that, you decide to take a day off and you get banged up, and it's not, that's part of it, but make sure you're learning to get back when you can because there's other guys there that can participate and play, and that's the exciting thing, that it makes the competition, pushes you individually to make sure you're doing the best you can do too. So we'll find out as we go. Questions?
Down front, Brent.
Speaking of 4 days in, and I know you saw him in the spring too, but your early impressions of Coach Durkin.
Doing well.
And what he's
got in good shape in the offseason. He ran well. He's worked out well.
What's his 40 time?
I think he, I think he passed conditioning test. I think he did pretty good. No, he's been doing a great job with our guys, leading them, putting them on the same page, and we meet, and I love the schemes that he's doing, and a lot of the same stuff, and there's added things, the way they do things a little differently, and sometimes there's things you may not even. Everybody says, was he 4 down, 3 down? Well, he's 4 down, but the point being is that we mix 3, we do everything. I mean, but how you play the 4 down, the different reads and nuances, just like everybody lines up in spread formation, but how they read, how they key. And he's a very sharp guy, very detailed guy, and a very good coach, I think. And the guys responded to him very well. Good command on the field.
Go 4th row, David Nuno on the aisle, 4th row on the right. Thank you.
Jimbo, I know you were talking about the freshmen, but are they built different today than 5 years ago, perhaps, with the way high school's different?
No doubt, because I think our knowledge, just physically, from the knowledge we have on how to work out, how to eat, how to train, how to take care of our bodies, and then everybody's got a personal trainer and 2 personal trainers, and, in that regard, which is really good, but sometimes they got to make sure they don't overwork. We know what we're doing too, so we don't need to train 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But at the same time, their body types and the size, speed of these guys is as far as the physical. Now that doesn't. Here's I always say this. That gives you the ability to be a good football player. The ability to be a great football player and a really good football player, whatever you want to define it as, which we want great, hasn't changed since the beginning of time. You still got to play the game. Where my steps are, where my hat is, how tough am I? Can I give effort? Am I mentally focused on everything I do? Am I disciplined? Do I have pride in what I do? Can I grind through this, and how to catch a ball, how to throw a ball, those techniques change, but the actual doing of those and performing and being able to produce as a football player is different than being a great athlete. Don't confuse that. Now, that's what we have to do now and develop these guys. But guys have done it, and I'll say they're more exposed to things. Also, from a knowledge standpoint, because they've been in camps and different things. So, over those transitions seem to get not easier, but quicker.
To the left.
I think technology, too, and teaching the amount of video and the different things you can show guys makes a difference.
Jimbo, you said, some of those older guys have improved. Who are some that have stepped up this year particularly to, be kind of the new group of leaders?
I think Damani's done a really good job on defense. I think AJ's done a good job. I think Layden has done a really good job. Nice has done a good job in that. I'm going to go through. I think the quarterback, Haynes and Max, both do that very well, very natural in what they do. Trying to go through everybody. Some young guys are on offense as you go through. Defensively, I think Mckinley Jackson has really taken steps forward how he's playing, and he's healthy now, and knowing he's a junior and been in that third year, I think he's jumped out there at me. I think Fidel Diggs does a really good job in leadership and what he's done. I think Coop has jumped out there. Miles Jones and what he's done. And I think our punter and our kicker, have done a good job. And our snapper, Choate. And you say that, can special teams guys do? Yeah, they are very respected, because I'm going to tell you, we have very good specialists. And those guys are respected in the team and how they work and how they do things. So, those are just some off the top of my head. I'm just making sure I'm just thinking. But those guys, Isaiah Rakes has done a good job. Been very mature and keeps growing up. It's fun watching him. I'm just making sure. But, yeah, some of the guys that just jump out right off the top.
Down front, Brent, and then Mark on the left.
When you name a starting quarterback, whether it's, you obviously have the option of a lefty or righty in the situation as well. Does that decide also where the tackles go, or does that play in terms of the backside? Nothing.
I don't. In today's time, guys flip in, you're in the boundary, and you're not, it's not like pro football because you have a boundary side and a field side. Pro football, you're basically in the middle of the field all the time. So it's a different dynamic. People don't realize the difference in college football to pro football because of the hashes. It's a totally different game and dynamic with the wider hashes. So, there's always going to be a guy, however they put their rush in and things like that, I think affect it. But no, in today's football, both sides tend to rush. And I've always said that, it's blind side. Well, when a guy's running at me scot-free, sometimes I'd rather see him be scot-free from the backside and get the ball off than running right at me in the front side. You know what I mean? And I know we think all those things, but I think right now both sides have to be just as important.
In terms of coaching duties, are there guys working with different position groups right now, or how is that?
Yeah, we're mixing around in different ways and what we've had. And Coach Craig has been with us at quarterbacks. Coach Dickey has moved over to tight end scripting and things, which allows him to do some things. But he's done that for many years. And sometimes it's traced inside. And Coley is working with receivers. Right now, we switched some guys around on offense. They've all done it before. Every one of them's coached those positions before. And dynamic of how we do things and how we want to go.
Front left, Mark.
Well, Brent took my question there, so I'll switch to this one. 4 days in, what as a
You
coach?
didn't copyright it.
No, he always does that first.
You think? Boy, see, he's the guy. He's the guy in your group. He's the guy in your group. He's the guy in your group.
He's the
There's
one.
always one, isn't there?
But 4 days in, largely without pads, what do you as a coach look for from your players?
Well, I'm going to say this. You
before
say
the
without
come out?
pads, we ain't tackling or not tackling. When you're in shells, you stay up. You can still be physical and play and do this like you can in pads. There's the only time we ever tackle, go to the ground is if you're in a scrimmage. Other than that, we're never on the ground. We don't want to be on the ground in what you're doing. So, I'm looking for consistency. I'm looking for mental and physical toughness. Can you give effort? Are you disciplined? That's the thing, man. We talk about all the things you do. You're disciplined. Your mental and physical toughness, and that allows you to have discipline. Give an effort. You know what I'm saying? Consistency. Are you available? Listen, availability is the best ability you can have. Then dependability and accountability. Those things are what it gets down to, and the intangibles of how you play and are you there every day, and then how you learning, the ability to comprehend information and process information and not make the same mistakes daily. And as you add new things, you also can judge a player when he add new things, how much can he hold and how quickly does he pick things up? Is he a total rep guy? Is it shorter reps? And some guys can take it from the meeting room to the field and get it. Some guys have to rep it a couple, and that doesn't mean anything in particular, but you're learning that from your guys, you know what I'm saying, which is very important when you get to weeks of game planning and what you do and how much you change a guy and what you ask him to do. There's so many different intangibles that way.
Go right side front, Cole, then Cease on the left.
Jimbo, Anais was talking about on Wednesday last week how he feels that this class is special because they went through the entire recruiting process with you. They were the very first class you went through the entire, the entirety of the entire, what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Do you feel the same way with these seniors going into this year, or is it just, a unique, different experience with all of your recruiting class?
Well, I'm going to say this. I always revert back to when players go to the league and all that, but listen, all the players on your team become your children. And I don't feel any more connection or disconnection from the other guys, let me say. But at the same time, I do remember walking in their houses. I sat in their living rooms. I sat in their houses. And, and things they did. And there's a little more, and it's not connection, but you're responsible for choosing and picking. You know what I'm saying? And then, because the other guys always say sometimes it's harder on them because, all right, they feel, all right, that coach didn't pick me or he didn't recruit me. You know what I'm saying? How do I adapt? That doesn't make you love or dislove a guy any less. But sometimes the nerves on their end. But at least these guys know that they're guys that we went after, and I've sat in their living room and seen them, and and had a longer relationship about probably more understanding their dreams and goals, because you get that a lot of times in recruiting, what a guy thinks, what's important to him, where he sees himself, what's his ultimate goals from that standpoint, and you do develop even a little more of a bond, probably so in that regard.
To the left, Cease, and then Olin.
Before I ask my question, I'll go Olin. So did the offensive coordinator and co-offensive coordinator keep the same titles? Does the titles stay the same?
Yes, yes.
Okay. My question is, at some point in this summer, did you look a little closer at your schedule as particularly SEC teams, who's coming back and who might not be coming back? And do you have any thoughts on your schedule, particularly when you've got those 4 games away from Cal Field?
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, we do that we evaluate personnel on the other team. I mean, we have off-season breakdowns from personnel to scouting report as far as what they did against us, what they did against other teams, schematics, other people they add to their staff. You got to pay attention to staff additions on their game. All right, what is his background? What could that add to what they already have? I mean, you want to talk about analytics on top of analytics on top of analytics on top of analytics. And thank God, I will say this, I'm not a computer guy, but thank God for computers to be able to get all that information in there and the number of people you have to have now to do that. I mean, as I say, your staffs are growing, but that's a big part of and then studying yourself and what you've done against them, things they've done in the past, that whole thing. And then what was your second question about the schedule?
I'm looking at your schedule.
4.
Stretch 4 games away from Cal Field, looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, challenging our guys and the mental toughness and how we do the offseason as far as presenting that to them. I don't think guys sometimes don't pay attention to that. And we presented our schedule to our players and understand we have a very, very difficult non-conference schedule. And we have a very, of course, conference schedule, which we always do. But the amount of time going on the road in this league is tougher than as tough as it is anywhere, because of the environments, the hostilities, and people play well like us. We played really well at home. Things that go on, and understanding I think from an educational standpoint to your players about what they're trying to go into. And it's like all kids. I mean, they take most of them guys in this, hopefully reinforcing it to the seniors and making sure they're getting it across above the mental toughness and ability to execute and do things, and why we practice like we do and all that. But yes, that's a big part of how we do it. And probably so, this year, as much as anything, did emphasize our schedule, not from a win-loss standpoint, but from the challenges you're about to face.
Olin, you're going to wrap it up with Coach. We've got Elijah Robinson ready. Olin, second row, right here on the
How
right.
do we have to give him one? Somebody else don't want one?
Go ahead.
Coach, I was reading a preseason magazine, and they quoted an anonymous SEC coach
There
that
we
said Texas A&M is an 8-4 program, and Jimbo knows it. And I just wonder if you would have a response to that.
No. Why would I respond to somebody's anonymous?
There we go.
We'll see.
All right. Thanks, Coach. We got Elijah Robinson.
Do you believe those anyway?
Anonymous. That's the way y'all justify saying what you want to say. Them anonymous is y'all reporters writing and saying what you want to say. It gets you off the hook, see?
But those aren't head coaches that say that, are they?
I don't know.
Nobody's ever come to you?
No. And I won't ever comment on them. I don't ever do that, but hey, that sells books, sells papers, that's real good.
All right, Coach Robinson.
How you guys doing?
All right.
All right, we got Coach Robinson.
Coach, when you look at all the young talent, you guys have on the defensive line with, Shamar Stewart and Walter Nolan and, Gabriel Brown-Ladindi, have you ever had that kind of talent before on the defensive line? And do you feel like these guys are the kind of true freshmen that can make an immediate impact?
I think the most important thing when you get young guys is just, again, teaching them the small things, like doing the ordinary things. Like I said, they was talented, probably the best in the country as high school players. I think when they get on this level, you got to teach them the ordinary things. You can't jump ahead. You can't let these guys get too far ahead. Coaching them details, teach them how to be a pro. That's by just doing the small things, and I think that's where it starts at.
We'll go front row on the left.
Coach, you guys got another commit from a Philadelphia player yesterday. You have had incredible success at the Northeast quarter the last several years. What's the trick of the trade there? I mean, is it just being a Camden guy, knowing how to talk to him, or is it something else?
I don't think it's a trick. It's about building relationships, and obviously there's relationships in that area. But also, our support staff do a great job. And I think it's not just about the connections I have, but when these kids get on campus, and the people that our staff, the support staff, the 12th man, all the things that this school can do for those guys outside of football is truly to sell. They come here to feel at home. I think that's the biggest thing.
We'll go fourth row on the right, and then we'll go to Olin.
Coach, your confidence level with that line, just it's completely different, obviously, and the way they have come together just going into the season.
I think the older guys did a really good job this summer, getting those guys around them, teaching them, again, the small things, the details, how to be on time, how to do the ordinary things. And Mckinley Jackson, Isaiah Rakes, Shamar Turner, those guys did a really good job with the young guys, and they lead by example, and those other guys just follow.
We'll go second row on the right.
Hi, Coach. Seems like, y'all had a really strong pass rush last year, but about 90% of that, the sacks that were accounted for last year has gone on to the NFL and other places. So you see these guys every day. How difficult do you think it's going to be to kind of replace that production, and how confident are that y'all can?
When you look at it, like you said, we lost some really good players. We all know that. These guys has been here. They had the great thing is they had a chance to be behind those guys that left. And those guys, they've been working. They watched the way that Marv and Mike Clemens and Tyree and Jaden Peavy, how they worked. And those guys, they're going to work their butt off to be good for us this year. So we got to continue to coach them up. They got to continue to buy into that process and go from there.
We'll go to Brent on the front row, and then we'll go to the back.
I know you had spent some time in Waco prior to here, but what was it ultimately that brought you to Texas A&M? What was it now, almost 5 years ago or 5 years ago?
I always pass this town on my way going to go recruit, and every time it grabbed my eyes. And I truly didn't understand what Gig'em meant. I always passed by a barn that had a big white painting that said Gig'em. I had no idea what that barn was. But I always drove past, and I wondered what College Station was like. When I had the opportunity to work for Coach Fisher, that was something I couldn't turn down. To be in the SEC, have an opportunity to work under Coach Fisher, one of the best coaches I've ever been around. And also, when I learned about the 12th Man Foundation, just what this school can bring, you understand two things. You get an opportunity to play in the SEC. You can sell that, but also get a great education and be able to be great at life at the ball. So when you have all those things to sell because of this great organization and this great university, why not?
You think you and Coach Price provide a pretty formidable 1-2 punch on the recruiting front for the defensive line in that area as well?
I think Coach Price is an amazing mentor to me. He went to school here, he played here, he understands everything about Texas A&M, so he made my transition easy.
All right, Coach, you're going to go to the back on the right. Justin?
Hey, Coach. over the years, we always hear about edge rushing, getting all the sacks. Interior guys, though, you coach them. Obviously, run, you want them to stop the run, but how much of the pass rush can be affected inside now in this type of game?
Yeah, so you have to work together as a unit to create pass rush. And sometimes you got to understand it's not all about getting the sack. It's about affecting the quarterback. So if that's just pushing the pocket inside, that's a big thing. All right, we got to make sure that there's no escape lanes as well, so our edge guys can get there. And then there may be times where we want our guys inside to win. So we got to work together as a unit. And again, it's not just about sacks. It's about affecting the quarterback. If we affect the quarterback, we've done our job.
We go front row on the right. We got time for a couple more.
Coach Jimbo always talks about in the secondary that they want to play matchups and coverages. Certain players have to go against certain formations. Is it the same way in the defensive line where you'll have certain players maybe move inside to be a zero tech or certain players only rush on third down? How do you go about playing these guys with a very deep defensive line?
Well, you look at personnel first. Obviously, you want to look at matchups. And we do the same thing on the defensive front. You've seen over the years, Kingsley Keke being a guy to play inside and outside. The Marvin Lee being a guy to play inside and outside. And we have those body types of guys that can do that. So if we see there's a matchup, we'll try to do that and set that up.
We go third row on the left, Tyler.
Coach, have you seen McKinley Jackson kind of step into a leadership role this year, and just what are your expectations for him this year?
I think it's natural when you see the older guys move on, that next guy takes the place. I think he started off as a guy that kind of watched Jaden Peavy and watched those guys, and now he's the older guy. So he's just, I think he's embracing the role as a leader. I'm watching the young guys gravitate to him. He's trying to teach them the things that he learned, and he's doing a really good job at it.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys.
All right, questions for Coach Dickey?
Good morning. You're 40 for me. And, this time of year, there's a lot of change in our world and in our country. But the one thing that hadn't changed in 39 years of doing this is the most exciting time of year for a coach, a player, and a fan. And I'm looking forward to this season and making it a great one.
All right, we'll start off on the right here, front row.
Yes.
Coach, you've been working with the tight ends the last couple of days, and replacing a guy like Jalen Weidemeyer, especially in the red zone, is challenging. But what have you seen from young players like Donovan Green and Johnson?
Well, our room is very talented. We're very inexperienced, though. And that's kind of what our team is about. We've got a lot of talent. It's one of the more talented teams I've been around. But we do lack a lot of experience. And I think that's going to be a part of a lot of your bigger programs now with with transfer portal and coming out early. We've got guys that have left early when they still had years, and we can't blame them. But you continue to have a young team a lot of times when that happens. But we are extremely talented at the tight end position. Max Wright is a very dependable, steady guy, knows the offense probably as well as anyone. Blake Smith knows the offense extremely well and is a talented guy for us. But the two guys you asked about, Donovan Green and Theo Ostran, those guys are going to be great players. They're going to both have a chance to be drafted in the first round. And another guy that's new here that was here in the spring, Jake Johnson, fits that bill as well. So we've got a very talented room. They've all got a little bit different thing that they are good at, stronger than the other guys in, but they're all very, very gifted players. And they're fun to coach because they're hungry. And those are guys sometimes that are, they're eager to get out there to show what they can do. When they make a mistake or they don't know something, they come running to you and they just, coach me up, coach. And so it's fun. We've got a room full of guys that can do well in this offense. Yeah, we'll miss Jalen, but that's the way football is now. Guys come in, they have good careers, great careers, and they move on, and you've got to go to the next man up philosophy.
Our coach will stay on the front row on the left side.
Coach, you've kind of got the unique position of having coached the quarterbacks and now you're coaching the tight ends. as a whole, how does this offense look to you from your perspective compared to the last couple of years?
Well, as I said, we've probably got more guys with outstanding talent across the board than we've had. Our offensive line is very physically talented, strong, young, but we do have more depth than we've ever had. We got more guys we think we could put in a game up front than we've had at any time. Same thing with tight end. We're kind of back to Jay Sternberger year where we didn't know much about him. He came in and had an unbelievable year. Then he left after that year, and we went with a freshman, Jalen Wiedemeyer, or he emerged through the course of it. We're looking for who's really going to emerge and be the guy, or we would really like to have 2 or 3 of them emerge because we like to play with 2 tight ends in the game a lot of the time. So again, we're very talented there. We're just inexperienced. The group I'm most excited about is our wide receivers. This is one of the fastest groups of wide receivers, most talented groups of wide receivers I've seen. We do have some experience at the wide receiver position, but we also have some young talent that is going to create a lot of competition at that position. The quarterback race is a very competitive battle. We got some young men that one guy has SEC experience, Max Johnson, but is learning this offense new, and we're very different on offense. So in the spring, they were all kind of, actually Haynes had a little more, obviously more experience in this offense, which is, as important as playing in games. He doesn't have a whole lot of game experience, but he's been on the field in this offense, and he's had the most snaps in this offense. And Connor is just an extremely talented guy, and from what I've seen, he's figuring it out. In the spring, he was just learning the system. He's still making great plays, and he's doing the same thing now. And I think Coach Craig, who played quarterback in this system, will do a great job bringing those guys along with Coach Fisher. So goes back to running back now. I think everybody knows about Devon Chain and what he brings to us. He's one of the most dynamic players in all of college football. We've got a couple of young guys, Amari Daniels and L.J. Johnson, competing for his backup role. Do not forget about a freshman named Le'Veon Moss. But to sum it up overall, we've got the weapons, we've got the skill, we've got the ability to be an outstanding offense, to be explosive, to be able to grind it out, to be able to do all the things Coach Fisher wants to do from an offensive standpoint. We've just got to figure out who's going to be doing the bulk of it at each position, and I think that competition is going to carry on throughout the season. And, sometimes, having been in this a long time, the younger guys that haven't done it a lot, they're hungrier, and that's what we need. We've got a talented team, and we've got a lot of competition out there, but we need to be hungry. We need to be striving to work for and work for, to gain everything that we possibly can. So it's going to be an exciting year, and we just want it to be a successful year as well.
We'll go second row on the right, and we'll go Tyler and Ben. You'll wrap us up.
Coach, you probably addressed what I was going to ask, but I'll go ahead and ask it anyway, and you can say, hey, I just said that. But I keep hearing about, and from players, that this team's going to be so much more explosive. And, as a coach and been, seen all those guys all over the place, why is this team going to be more explosive?
I simply think it's because of the fact that we have more guys at the skill positions who, even though they don't have a lot of experience, they're dynamic playmakers. And it may be young guys, but we have guys that can run, they can catch the ball, make a guy miss, and go the length of the field at times in the past. And we will be at times during this season. We'll choose to grind it out a little bit. We were probably more of a grind style in the past than this year. We'll pick and choose our times to get the ball to our playmakers in space, and we're expecting and anticipating a lot more big plays because of it. So I think the reason is just the pure dynamic athletic ability that, the guys we have that'll be playing the running back, quarterback, tight end, and wide receiver positions. And I say that with all due respect to some great players that were here. Travion Williams had one of the greatest years in Texas A&M history, our first year here. But again, I think we've got more overall speed, more overall ability at all the skill positions, which hopefully you expect to put them in, positions where they can score a lot of points, make a lot of big plays, and be able to match other teams in those big shootout games.
All right, we'll go third row on the left, and then Ben, you'll wrap us up.
Coach, on this offense, kind of a unique situation with Max and Jake Johnson both on the same team. What's kind of the relationship like there at practice? And I don't know, does that kind of help each other as a quarterback and a tight end?
Well, they're both great kids. They come from a wonderful family. They've been raised correctly. They're competitive. They're talented. Yesterday there was a joke. Max was running a bootleg. He pulled the ball down and ran it. And Jake came flying across and got in the hit one of the defenders that was getting close to tackling Max, and all the tight ends said, "Hey, stay off my brother." And so there's a little bit of that, but I don't think they're all caught up in I want to be going with you, and I want to be in the huddle when you're in the huddle. I think it's more they're both just trying to learn their positions and contribute to the team. But we're glad they're here because they both can play.
All right, we'll go to the back, Ben.
Coach, working with the quarterbacks, and trying to learn this offense for Max and Connor, what are some of the most important things, part of that learning curve for them, understanding the system? And then just as a quick aside, I guess any difference teaching a guy like Max who's been through obviously an SEC starter and then a guy coming in as a true freshman with Connor?
Well, it's a good question. Coach Fisher has developed a lot of great quarterbacks over his years, and it's a demanding position. The guys here that play quarterback have to do what the guys in the NFL do. They have to process. They have to be able to think. They have to be able to check running plays. They have to be able to set protections. They have to be able to attack the field throwing every area. This isn't just a bubble screen or wide receiver screen or throw it deep offense. This is a pro-style offense that also has some of those concepts to go along with it. So they also have to be very ready or willing to prepare. Kellen Mond, who was very successful in this offense, spent hours up here watching film, asking questions, learning it. And then once you supposedly learn it, you've got to continue staying on top of it because there are adjustments that are made weekly and daily and when you understand why the adjustments are being made, you know that your quarterback's getting it. And I still remember the first of the year, our first season here, Kellen during the early parts was just kind of trying to make sure he knew where everybody was at and what he was supposed to do. He wasn't necessarily thinking and seeing things like Coach Fisher does. But we had the ball on the 20-yard line with one play to play, or 25-yard line against LSU, and Kellen came to the sideline, and Coach Fisher said what he thought what he was going to run, and he said, "I wonder what Kellen sees." And he came to the sideline and he said the exact same play. And you kind of got a feeling there that he was starting to see it the same way that Coach Fisher does. And it just takes a while, and it takes constant preparation. So those young guys, Max, Connor, and even Haynes, they have got to know the offense as well as Coach Fisher does. And they've got to spend time studying and preparing. And as Coach always says, quarterbacking comes down to two things: decision-making, which they have a decision to make every play, and accuracy. When they're throwing the ball, they got to hit what they're throwing at. And that's pretty good. That philosophy has worked well for Coach for a long, long time.
Appreciate the time, Coach.
You bet.
How's everybody doing?
Good. Questions for Coach? We'll start off here, front row on the left.
Coach, you've coached wide receivers before, but how much of a acclimation process has it been to make that switch from tight ends to wide receivers this year?
It's not a big switch. I mean, tight ends, you run routes also, and you're responsible for similar stuff in the run game when you're displaced. So it's an it's different, from last year to this year with regards to just a set of skill set that you have and what you're dealing with. But I mean, it hasn't been a big change.
Stay on the left, third row.
Coach, what does Evan Stewart add to this offense, and is he the kind of guy that you foresee just making an immediate impact as a true freshman?
Yeah, so far, I mean, he's added his speed is when you're watching it on video or you're watching it in live on the field, it's there. I mean, the DBs feel it. He's explosive, so he's fast in short areas and he's fast with long speed, and that all helps route runners get open. When you can be as explosive as he is. He's also very bright, extremely intelligent. So he brings a really good package to that room, especially as young as he is. And, he's a prideful kid who takes a lot of pride in being prepared and, having his toolbox, his skill set ready to go for practice.
Where we'll go front row right here on the right.
Coach, among Anaya Smith's multiple nicknames, one of them is Mr. Everything because of what he does for the offense, but he also seems to be one of the biggest leaders in the locker room and one of the faces of this organization. When you look at that, how does he set the tone for these young receivers to go through practice, to go through game days, to go through all these little aspects of what it means to play in the SEC?
Right. He's involved in every play. I mean, he's there chirping and talking, and that's the way he approaches the game. For him, it's a mental edge. And he's not one of those guys that we've all seen in the past that may stand on the side, and if he's not in getting ready for their rep, he's in other people's reps. So yeah, he's been huge for the young guys because he's always talking to them. He's huge for the older guys because he's talking to them too. So he's got the right mindset.
We'll go second row on the left.
You guys threw deep a lot in the spring game, and Jimbo said coming out of that was going to be a part of the offense moving forward, the ability to throw deep. So where do you feel that's at, and how do you go about making that happen this fall?
Sure. I mean, doing what we're doing in practice. I think that we have speed on our team. Everybody said this is the fastest team we've had since Coach has been here, this is part of it. He's led the league. He's led college football in explosive plays as a play caller and head coach before, so he knows schematically how to get after defenses. And we got guys now that can stretch the field. So he's accurate with what he wants to do.
We'll go first row on the right here.
You had obviously had some good years in the SEC and been across the South, from the South. What did you know about Texas A&M before coming here, and what ultimately brought you here to A&M?
Sure, tradition. You know that this is a big-time program in a great state that recruiting is. You can find whatever you want. It's loaded with players. Always been a tough environment. That you understood if they were on your schedule. Not only if you were going away and playing there was it going to be tough, but kind of the mindset of the players. And the blue collar of this university. Those are the things that pop in my mind when you see A&M. Obviously, Coach Fisher was a big reason why I'm here. Also, I've started off with Coach Fisher a long time ago when I was a GA at LSU, and so he was a big reason why I'm over here.
We'll go fourth row on the right, David.
Coach, obviously a great collection of talent, young and old, but these young players beyond Evan, Noah and Chris, how they're pushing some of the older players to be better as well.
Sure, yeah, everybody's pushing everybody. This is the heat of camp right now. So it's heavy competition, and with respect to the guys in the room, it stays on the field. So they've done a really good job going in the meeting and talking with each other. And giving each other their thoughts, and hey, you should he's right, listen to this, and or hey coach, could he have done X, Y, Z? So they've been really good teammates in the meeting room, but they've got after each other on the field. So they're competing.
We'll go to the sixth row on the right.
Coach, as sort of a follow-up to that with Chris and Noah specifically, bringing the size that they do, something that, you know, I think could be a big asset for this team. How do you see their role potential, what role they could fill kind of with that skill set that they bring?
Role, yeah, being on the field. You know what I mean? I think, you know, when you're in training camp, you know, you're competing for jobs, you know, so hopefully they're competing to be the starter, you know. With their size, one thing that you got to bring up with that is big guys like that, are they guys that body you up to make grabs, or are they guys that have a catch radius? And those guys have shown that they have a catch radius, right? They got to continue to work, you know, to continue to improve that catch radius and to stay on top of their game, right? But they got a skill set that makes them an issue in the perimeter.
We'll go in the back with Justin, then Brent, you'll wrap us up.
Coach, I know you mentioned a lot of the downfield passing, but how nice is it with this speed now that maybe you can throw a bubble or a 5-yard slant and they can take it to the house? I mean, does that play it different too? I mean, that has to help too, right?
Absolutely. You know, that's you know, those are yards you steal, right? Because of the leverage maybe the defense may give you because of who you have in the backfield, right? That guy in the back of the room right there, right? So if they want to be stingy in the box, you know, and you're throwing a bubble out there to a guy who has speed, they could be the fastest guy on the team, or could just be a guy who's long and fast and strong and is hard to tackle. So that adds an element to your game, being explosive along with going deep.
All right, Coach, we'll wrap it up right here in the middle.
In your role as co-offensive coordinator, what exactly does that mean on game day duties or in-game duties when you're co-offensive coordinator?
Sure, just input with the head coach, you know, the final touches and preparation during the week, organization, along with Coach Dickey, making sure that, you know, Coach Fisher's thoughts get down and get repped, and versus the right looks, and making sure that, you know, whatever needs to be messaged to the rest of the guys, that we are the voices for that group. During game day, it's adjustments. So he's continuously looking, for, you know, asking, all right, what do we got to do here? They're doing what to us? And then we give them that input. Coach Dickey in the sky and myself in the sideline.
Always like to hear the old stories. Any early impressions from being with Coach Fisher in Baton Rouge in '04, and you know, anything that stuck with you at that time that you learned from him?
Sure. You know, just his ability to have more and make the players feel like it's less. You know, just a huge volume of offense. And then, you know, the players didn't feel it. You know, just the way he approached it and taught it, the methods, the simple sayings that clicked in meeting rooms. You know, hey, say this because they'll get it. You know, it's just his ability to be a really good teacher.
All right, thanks, Coach. Appreciate the time.
Thank you.
All right, questions for Coach? Start right here on the right, front row.
DJ, you've had a lot of success at major programs, and you've been in the SEC at Ole Miss last year with Lane. So why Texas A&M was the place for you to be this year?
Yeah, I just feel like this program and Coach Fisher's vision and his proven track record and things he does is, I mean, I think everything lines up here to really be able to do something special. I think, you know, we've acquired great talent, great players. Now getting to meet everyone, I think we have great people is probably most important. And, you know, so very talented team, talented staff, and, you know, this is a good place to be.
We'll stay right here in the front row on the right.
Coach said you still have a pretty good 40 time, by the way. So, do you embrace? It seems like we're seeing it again. Do you embrace the title, the wrecking crew, in terms of this defense, or is that something that has to be earned? What is your approach on that?
Yeah, I mean, those are things I think. Obviously, the fans and people who follow the team, they decide that. Our focus is really about getting better today than we were yesterday, and we're taking it that way. So I love our kids' approach so far. They've done a great job how we're working, and you know we're nowhere near any sort of titles or anything like that. It's really about just getting better each day.
We'll go third row on the left, Tyler, and then we'll go to Olin.
What's kind of your defensive philosophy that you hope to bring here in your first year at A&M?
Really, to me, the coaching is about being able to build your scheme around your players. So we're multiple, and if you look at where we've been a little different at every stop, just based on who the players are. And so, I think you got to play your players' strength. I think just saying like this is the scheme and learn this playbook and throw it out there. I mean, that sometimes will work, but sometimes it wouldn't. And I think our job as coaches is to make sure we're evaluating our players. What do they do best? What do they do well? And put them in those positions as much as possible.
We'll go second row on the right to Olin.
Hi, Coach. How are you able to take what was at first a kind of a porous Ole Miss defense and turn it into a pretty good one? And do you have to follow this same blueprint at A&M, or do you take a different approach with what you have inherited here?
I think wherever you are, any job, all that, it's really about, especially in this day and age, it's about creating buy-in. It's about a group of coaches and a group of players all coming together for one common goal and learn how to be part of something bigger than just themselves, which, is a hard thing nowadays. And so that's what it is. I mean, that's what I love about the game of football. I love about coaching is it's one of those opportunities where I think there's very few anymore where you can really teach team concept and teach guys, hey, my actions, my words, the things I choose to do affect more than just me. And so really getting guys to be there for one another and buy into that. And the quicker you're able to do that with coaches and players all alike, obviously the more success you'll have.
Coach, we'll go to the sixth row on the right, Ben.
Coach, what are some of the things that have jumped out to you working with these guys, just seeing them in person from, what you knew about them on film, and then I guess the group coming in the fall as well?
Yeah, I love our daily approach and attitude to what we're doing. Our guys really grasp learning, some new terminology and calls and all that. They've done a good job handling all that. And, I think it's the day-to-day of coming to practice, ready to go, and maybe it's something that carries over from before, maybe it's something new, but there's buy-in right now, and they're working really hard at it. And so, again, anytime you have that, I think you have a really good chance to be successful. We have a talented team, and so we get guys on the same page. I think we'll be good.
We'll go front row on the left, and we'll go to Brent.
Coach, in some of your past stops, your defenses have been very aggressive. You were obviously aggressive against A&M last fall. Taking a look at this secondary, do you feel like you can bring maybe blitz more with the caliber of the guys you've got in the back end?
Yeah, the guys who are in the back end, I think we're really talented there. I think they do a good job. They embrace playing aggressive, and I think part of playing defense is you got to be aggressive. But I also, again, I think that's a week to week and game plan thing. What's good, what'll work, what's been effective versus the team you're playing. And so I think all those things you leave open ended. And to me, every week you make the best decisions. All right, this is what gives us our best chance to be successful in this game.
Go to front row, Brent.
If I recall, going back about 7 years ago, you almost came here under a different regime. Was there disappointment that you did not end up here, and then when you did get here, say, hey, I'm finally here? Was there anything along those lines?
When you're in coaching long enough, I mean, there's all kinds of things and possibilities and maybes and everything else. To me, you'll just worry about things all happen for a reason. You are where you are, and that's that's usually how it goes. I think it's a good way to live, a good way to be, especially in this profession. And so, I'm thrilled to be here. My family is as well. I think College Station is such a cool place. There's a great tradition here with this university and this football program, and I'm just very happy Coach Fisher was able to offer me a position to come here. I'm thankful for that, and I love working with these guys every day.
And when Coach Fisher brought you aboard, I think he had told us, okay, things aren't going to really change much on defense, and then he described you as a four-down guy with the ability to adapt. Would you describe that as accurate as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're going to do what fits us best. And again, like I said, you look at where we've been at different stops. We've been a lot of 4 down, or a lot of 3 down, or a lot of whatever it is based on who our guys are. And so that will continue here for sure.
We got time for a couple more. We'll go Tyler, Cole, and Cease. Third row.
Coach, how much does it help your job when you have guys like Antonio Johnson, Damani Richardson as, just veteran leaders for this defense?
Leadership is such a critical component. Leadership's a word that is it's hard to define. It's hard to really just describe to someone what that means, what it is. But you know it when you see it. It's one of those things. And I think any team that's going to win at a high level and compete for a championship better have great leadership. And usually you can trace it back to that. So leadership development is something I really believe in, something we spend a lot of time on, more than just X and O's. Defensively, we spend a lot of time on that. And so having veteran guys and the guys you mentioned as well as some others certainly helps. When you have guys that have been around it and understand some things, I think their ability to lead, becomes much better for them because of those experiences, right? We're all products of our experiences and what we've learned. And so you have guys that have been around it, played a lot. They have some experiences where they can speak on to a younger guy and hopefully get them going in the right direction.
We'll go front row on the right, and then Cecil will wrap us up.
DJ, when you look at a defense right now and you're trying to get blitz packages going, and one thing that's really important is speed. To have a guy like Edgerrin Cooper, who is basically a safety that can hit like a linebacker in that middle of the field, what does that do for your blitz packaging?
Yeah, position speed is it's always been important in football. I think it's more important now than ever, but the way the game is going, it's so much more spread, and offense is trying to create a lot of one-on-one situations for guys, get the ball to your playmakers in space. And so, now more than ever, you better have position speed. Coop certainly has that, and we're working on all the technique and fundamentals. When you take a great athlete like him, that's he's so willing. He'll strike. He'll play. He wants to be great. And you start now really refining his technique and fundamentals. That to me is how you get an elite player, and he's on course for that.
All right, second row on the left, Cease.
Coach, you use the word us when you're talking about your defensive staff, but really you're really the only new guy. So I'm just, how's that transition gone? And could you brought somebody in, or did you like it the way it was? Just wonder about the transition.
Our defensive staff is tremendous. I mean, we really have talented coaches, and probably more important than that, we have great people. That transition has been awesome. And, to be honest with you, that's always something there's a little, maybe thought or trepidation about that coming into it. And, these guys have been great. They really have. I think at all levels with our defensive line, Coach Robinson, Coach Price, I can't imagine a better coach group, those two guys, and they work so well together too. There's no, sometimes you get places where it's like territorial and all that. It's not that at all. These guys work really well together. Coach Santucci is tremendous. I mean, he's, a top-notch coach in the country in terms of his knowledge of defense and his relationship with the players and how he recruits and just does everything. And then Coach Rushing has been awesome for me to get to work with him. I'm more in the back end now with him, and he's great. He's as sharp as they come, and these guys have a great investment here in this program, and have obviously been here longer, and investment with these players. And so it's really cool to see, and you can tell the relationship that they've done a great job, because when you walk in the room, you can tell the interaction relationship they have with the players that are here. They've been around them for a while, so everyone knows each other and knows the real person, and that part has been very helpful for me.
I appreciate the time, Coach.
All right, guys, thank you.
All right, then we'll start off on the front row on the right.
Layden, you guys are set on one side of the offensive line, but you have a battle going on at the other guard position between Moko and Cam and Aki. What have you seen from them, and what is the level of expectation you're expecting from these guys?
The level of expectation I have from them guys is just greatness in general. We all know as an O-line, you got to stick together through rough times, good times. So, it's some practice where it's rough, but we just got to learn how to push through them, and that's a very heavy, great competition over there, and they're just bringing the best out of each other every single day. We're pushing each other as a whole, and the best of five, that's who we have at the end of the fall camp, that's who we're going to have and get ready to play, and we're going to support each other.
All right, we'll go third row on the left.
Layden, what have you seen in Bryce Foster's development? How much does it help that all the experience he had last year as a freshman?
Oh, yeah. Bryce is developing good, you know. It's challenging coming into, you know, Mission Spring for doing track, and he's did his thing in track, and he's coming in, he's learning it slowly, but it's gradually, and he's doing a great job for us, and he's going to be a great impact on the field for us.
We go fourth row on the right.
Layden, is Devon's ability to run between the tackles underrated? Because people talk about his speed on the edge, but what about him running, hitting the holes?
Nah, his speed is not underrated at all. It's real. If people don't believe it, just watch him play this season. He's going to make very big plays for us this season. I mean, it's going to be amazing. Like I always tell people all the time, and I probably said it last time, he just makes your blocks look unreal. Like, he makes you look like that was supposed to happen, even if it wasn't supposed to happen. That's just the speed that he has and the vision that he has for us, his quick reaction time, and I can say he's a blessing for our offensive line.
We'll go second row on the right.
Layden, you got a really good close look and even played a lot on that offensive line 2 years ago that was considered one of the best in the country. How good can this line be, and how close are you all to being? What will it take for this line to be as good as that one was?
I could say we're not there yet, but that's a good thing. We have a lot of room that we could improve on every single day. And I could say, well, my focus is not to be as good as that line. How about trying to be better than that line? You know, we have to try to be better. If you're trying to be like somebody else, you're putting a cap on yourself. This line doesn't need to put a cap on ourselves. We're young, but we need to keep getting better every day. So we need to make sure that we're better than that line, which we can accomplish, but we have to focus on the little things. We got to focus on the little things. We have to focus on the things to make us better every single day and not worry about we're our own line. We're our own line. We got to find out who we are. We got to find out who our identity is. So that's what we're focused on this fall camp and going into the season.
We'll stay front row on the right.
Layden, you guys just had a player right on here. You just had a player get drafted in the NFL first round in Kenyon Green, and you just added a guy from his same high school in Cam Dewberry, who a lot of people have said they see a lot of similarities between the two. Have you noticed that, and if so, what are some of the intangibles that they possess each other?
Oh, it's crazy. You know, shout out to my boy KG. He did his thing. I'm very proud of him. He's doing his thing in Houston. I know he's going to be phenomenal for that franchise. You know, that pipeline from here to Atascocita is great. We're getting great offensive linemen from them. Cam Dewberry has the strength. And Kenyon was very known for playing in a good bend. Cam is known to play in a good bend. You know, we still have some things that we need to tighten up with his game, but he is going to be an amazing player for us. His strength is amazing. The way he plays in power is just amazing. So that's the similarities that they have. They just play in a natural bend. It is unreal how you get players that are very similar to the old players. It's crazy. But Cam is going to be an awesome, great offensive lineman for this university. And I just can't wait for people to see him evolve.
All right, Layden, we'll go back behind the lights on the right.
Layden, we've talked a lot today about this offense being more explosive, right? It's going to be more downfield passing or short passes go the distance. But where does the offensive line fit into being a more explosive offense in 2022?
We fit in wherever the coaching staff wants us to fit into. That's our job. Our job is to do whatever the coaching staff wants us to do, to be great in any aspect that the coaching staff wants us to do. That's us following the plan and the vision of Coach Fisher, Coach Adazio. Whatever we have and they put in front of us, we have to dominate, and that's our job, and that's what we're going to do.
All right, we got time for a couple more. We'll go third row on the left.
Layden, what's the chemistry of this line like, so far in camp? You say you guys still have a long ways to go to become like you were 2 years ago, but I know chemistry is an important part of just all working together. So what's that like so far?
Chemistry is getting pretty good. You know, we're going through hard times with each other. You know, fall camp, that's the grind, that's the gritty. You're going through it every day. I mean, all hours of the day. Tired, banged up, it doesn't matter. And that's just helping us get stronger and stronger every day. Like, you know, you're just not going to have a regular relationship without a person without going through some hard times with them. So these hard times that we're going through together right now are getting us prepared for the season, is getting us ready, and we're getting closer and closer every day because you know the person you are next to them. You know how to push them. You know how to get them back focused. That's what we're going through right now. So that's just going to help us be better at the end of the day.
We'll go front row on the left.
Layden, this is going to kind of play off that last question. How do you go from 5 individual offensive linemen to one unit that works together? What's that process?
That process is just literally knowing, trusting the man right beside you. That's all it is. You just have to make sure that you trust that person to do their job. And you do that by every day seeing them, how they prepare, how they get their mind right, how they pay attention to their steps, how they take on practice, how they take on that adversity. That's all that's how you get to that point. And we're making sure we just take strides to get to that point every day. If we have a day where we low, we got to make sure, hey, let's get back on it. That's how we're going to find out. That's how you get to that point. And we're making the process and taking the steps that's necessary to get there.
All right, that's all we got, Layden.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Y'all God bless. Have a great day.
Questions for Devon? We'll start out in the back, Ben.
Devon, could you kind of explain what the process is like for you going from football shape, getting into track shape, molding your body for that sport, and then getting back into the flow for this spring?
The transition for me is basically just trying not to lose as much weight as I do going into track. Cause, obviously a lot of running and sweating, I'm gonna lose weight. So, just trying to stand in the weight room, just keeping my body maintaining, to take a lot of hits. So, just basically keeping my weight up and just, make sure when I come back to football that I'm still in shape and still can be able to run and catch the football like I've been able to do, because I know I haven't been doing it in a long time. So I just try to stay and maintain focus on that.
We'll go back behind the lights.
Hey, Devon, can you just talk a little bit about kind of the emphasis you're kind of trying to focus on this year? You can do so many different things. Is there one area or a couple areas that you want to do better this year?
Yes. Just trying to do better. Just playing going out as a receiver. Just focusing on running my routes better. I've been after practice catching a lot of jugs, just basically working on my hands and just try to do what's best for the team.
We'll go second row on the right. Olin.
Devon, we hear that Evan and maybe Chris Marshall, maybe some other guys are finally that guy that's going to be able to, I guess, stretch the defense and take the top off of it. If they're if they are able to do it, what does that do for you?
It just makes our team just a whole lot better, that we can score in every position. So it just makes it easier for me that everybody do their job. It just basically just making me do my job just even better, just because I know if Evan is out there or Chris or whoever, a receiver, is just doing their job and then I'm doing my job, it's hard to stop us at every position. So, we just basically seeing them just be out at practice and doing the things that they be doing, it just impresses me. So.
All right, we'll go third row on the left.
Devon, I was just looking at your carry numbers. You had 20 against South Carolina in the big game there, 16 against Missouri. Outside of that in your career, it's mainly been 10 or 12, and obviously you had other guys kind of soaking up some carries. But how confident are you that you can be that every down back who maybe carries the ball 18, 20 plus times a game?
I'm very confident. If Coach Fisher wants me to carry the ball 20, 25 times, that's what I do. If he wanted to carry the ball 10 times, I do. I just here just on the team, just being a team player. So if that's what Coach wants, then that's what I do.
All right, we'll go front row on the right.
Devon, when you look back at your time at Fort Bend Marshall to now, when you were trying to carve out a role for yourself, to being a secondary runner, to now being one of the lead backs, and not just that, but one of the top names in the SEC, is there a sense of pride that you have just internally in yourself, and there's a certain level of expectation that you want to bring this year?
Yes, because when I started high school, I was a second string running back, and then until my junior year, I became a starter. We just same here. I was a six-year running back freshman and sophomore year, and now I'm a starter my junior year. So it just basically just taking on that role, and just being a leader for the team. So it just helped me a lot. That I also am familiar with the position and phrase that I've been in. So it's basically the same from high school.
We'll go third row on the left, Tyler.
Devon, do you still see yourself on special teams with kick returns, and just, I guess, as a unit, how much of an advantage is that you guys have when you have guys like yourself and Anais with returning the ball?
You have a very advantage. Me and Anais both ran punt returns and kick returns back last year. So, yes, I also see myself on special teams, even on kickoff. I was on punt return. I played every special team since I've been here, so I don't see like a change in that.
We'll go sixth row on the right, and then we'll go to Brent.
Devon, it seemed like with your obviously elite speed and being able to stay fresh, as we mentioned with some other guys, it sort of could be a lethal combination late in games with kind of a full tank, so to speak, and plenty of speed to burn. As you get into games, more carries, is there anything you can do to make sure you maintain that level of separation just throughout the game and kind of maintain that advantage?
It's just starting now at fall camp. We it's hot. It's everybody the sun is out. Just starting at fall camp, just getting all the carries. Just basically just training yourself to go through a long game and 4 quarters, and that's a lot. That's a long time. So just basically going at practice, training myself to be ready for anything, and just make sure I'm ready.
All right, we'll go to Brent right here on the front row.
You're going to get mentioned as a preseason Heisman Trophy candidate. How do you approach that in terms of that mentality, that approach into the season when you hear that in terms of your approach here and being related to the Heisman?
I think it's a great accomplishment, but I really don't just think about stuff like that. I just come here to play football, and then the accolades come. I'm very thankful for them, but to me, I just focus on the team, stuff like that. I don't be just worried about that unless it just be mentioned.
So speaking of being mentioned, how much did you hear about the kick return in the offseason against Alabama from fans and others and so forth?
Yeah, I heard that. It was a lot of people, fans mentioning me, like on Twitter and stuff like that. They had pictures of me that I was signing. So it was actually just fun. But once upon a time, me, I just stopped forgetting about it. It was last year, so I got to do something new this year. So
We'll stay on the front row, and then we'll wrap up with Justin.
Devon, just overall, what have you seen from the quarterbacks, and how did they elevate their play, and also how they elevate the offense with you guys in the huddle?
I seen a lot of every last one of them, all 3 of them. They're great at what they do. They make sure that we all on top of our game. They being leaders, they're very vocal. So they just keep all the offensive line, the defense. The offensive receiver. They make sure that we all on top of our game. We can't slack. So they all been great leaders, and you can see from fall to spring that we just basically they just getting better at what they do, and it's very impressing me because I haven't been there. I wasn't there in spring, so this is kind of new to me. So fall camp has been very fun, even though it's been 5 days. So it's really great to see them compete with each other.
All right, we'll wrap it up behind the lights on the right with Justin.
Devon, at some point, you're going to have to take a break, right? So behind you, Amari and LJ, what are you seeing from that, the backup role? And obviously, can't forget about Le'Veon. So just talk about those 3 backs behind you.
From last year to this year, they've involved a lot. You can tell, by me just practicing with them, that they've been working in the off season. Just trying to get better and perfect their craft. So everybody just think it's just me, but I actually have our running back room is really good. And, y'all will see that during the season. So, just me seeing them how great they got from the past year. They really been putting in a lot of work, and they will see in the season.
All right, thanks, Devon.
All right, thank y'all.
All right, Nick, we'll start on the front row on the right.
Nick, for starters, great mustache. Number 2, what's it been like for you working with the new kicker now that Steph's gone?
Really good. We've just been getting to gel together a bit, so finding out what groove works and, being a bit too quick at the start, a bit too slow, so trying to find that right sweet spot, but it's gone really well so far.
Are you still staying in contact with him throughout the offseason?
Yeah, always. Always are, for sure.
We'll go third row on the left, Tyler.
What's your approach heading into this season? You kind of have the goal of getting the Ray Guy Award this year. Is that kind of?
It's not really a goal. It's great being recognised for awards like that, but at the end of the day, if you don't perform on the field, you can't get the award. So my focus is towards making sure that all my steps towards punting are somewhat perfect, and which gives our team the best chance to succeed. And then if I focus on that, then the rest will fall into place. So that's what I'm focusing on this year.
All right, Nick, we'll go second row on the right with Holden.
I need 2 things. Number 1, why does it seem like so many good punters come out of Australia? And then my second question will be, so did you have to be a mentor of sorts to Mocha when he got here?
Well, a lot of so we play Australian rules football at home, and that involves a lot of skill work with your feet. So we're kicking the ball a lot of the time. That's why in college, especially now, you see a lot of rollout punts and different styles of punts. That comes from, our sport back in Australia. So that's why it's evolving like that. And didn't have to do too much to Moko. He was ready to go when he got here. He has the right chip on his shoulders, and he's looking really dangerous. So I'm excited to see what he can do.
We'll go in the back, Justin.
What do you take more satisfaction in, bombing one 60-plus or pinning somebody inside the 5-yard line?
Honestly, whatever the situation is and whatever the best result of that situation is, to be honest. Like, I mean, if you had to ask me what my favorite punt would be, it's the punt that's the highest, the furthest, and it pins them the deepest. So, whatever we can do, no matter where we are. I mean, you do have satisfaction out of letting one rip and sending it down pretty far, but at the end of the day, whatever can limit the return, put your defense in a favorable position, that's the best one for me.
We'll go third row, Tyler.
You're flipping fields with your punting, but on the other side of special teams, how much does it help when you have guys like Devon Achane and Anais Smith who are also flipping fields with their return?
It's unbelievable. It's an amazing weapon to have. I mean, especially Achane and Smith. You can't ask for a better duo than that. And I mean, it's sort of a love-hate relationship. We want the offense to do really well, but then when we have to go out there, we want to do as best we can for the defense. And if we pin them deep, then they got a better chance of doing really well. So it's unbelievable weapon, or great tools we have, and we will definitely be using them. That's for sure.
We'll go second row on the left, and we'll go.
Really your fourth year here, so what do you see different about this team? Anything different this fall camp, and anything just different about this team?
I think I'm not going to say mindset, it's a very general term, but there's a lot more energy that comes towards now, especially with the new freshman class. Everyone's coming in. A lot of the things that Coach Fisher implements into us, you're starting to see that fold through. So I think that as more and more of us go through our years, and the freshmen are now being brought up into an environment where you've been ingrained by Jimbo's, everything tells us, toughness, effort, discipline, pride, all that stuff. You start to see that as you go on throughout the years. So I think everyone's coming into this program and they have no choice but to invest into that. So I think as the years go on, it's just going to keep getting better.
All right, we'll go front row on the left.
Nick, historically or generally, punters are not known for making tackles. Obviously, Braden, before you did, you being an Australian rules guy, do you have a desire when you punt one to go be the guy to get down there and make the hit as well?
Never. If I would ever have to do that, there's something wrong on my behalf. So I hope that doesn't have to happen, touch wood. But I mean, our tackling's a lot different back at home. So we're not allowed to tackle below the knees or above the shoulders. Whereas here, you can do whatever you want. So that's why I'm not used to that type of tackling. But if that situation ever had to come, hopefully it all goes well. But yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen.
All right, Cole, you'll wrap us up on the front.
Nick, Jimbo's talked about the competitive nature between the veterans and also the younger players kind of pushing the veterans. Have you noticed that between different position groups to where you have leaders such as seniors, but also freshmen, maybe pushing those seniors a little bit harder?
Yeah, for sure. Especially, I say on the offensive linemen, like Layden Robinson's really stepped up a lot. Even having Max come in as quarterback, and it's really made, Haynes is a competitor, that, and so is Max. So having those two together has been unbelievable. So even receiver with Evan coming in, I know he's a freshman, but he's looking really dangerous out there. So all of them now it's a very healthy competition. No one's trying to do anything to sabotage anyone. It's just making everyone rise to a new standard. So it's looking really exciting.
All right, thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
All right, questions for Edgerrin. We'll go third row on the left.
Hey, Edgerrin, do you see yourself kind of stepping more into a leadership role this year, and just what's that been like?
Oh yeah, most definitely. As I feel myself feel more of a veteran year by year. I most definitely feel like seeing these younger guys come in. I have that input of wanting to step up and let them know, lead them in the right direction.
We'll go second row, Olin.
Edgerrin, why will you be a better linebacker this year than you were last year?
I've been working hard, looking at my weaknesses and just getting more into the game, learning more about the game, and just bettering myself, giving myself more and more advantages.
We'll go front row on the right, Cole.
Edrin, DJ was talking about how your play speed makes it a little bit easier for you to do blitz packages. Are you expecting to be a little bit more effective as a blitzer this season?
Wait, what was that? I'm sorry.
DJ's been talking about your play speed and how it will be effective on blitz packages. Do you expect yourself to be a little bit more effective in the blitz packages?
Oh, most definitely. You know, as me moving around fast, I really expect myself, just be sending pressure.
And then with the level of consistency between you and Andre White, having that 1-2 combination balance of playing opposite of him for a while, what does that do for the second level of the defense?
Oh, it does a tremendous, it has a tremendous effect on the defense, working together, just having both of us out there, working together, controlling the defense, I feel like it really helps us.
All right, we'll go third row on the left, Chuck.
Just curious, just comparing so far, Coach Elko, Coach Durkin, what are the similarities and differences, and what is your first impression of Coach Durkin in terms of what he brings to the table?
I feel like he came here with a really good plan. Like he really wants to get the job done. But far as defense-wise, how his defense is, he wants us to be able to set our feet in the ground and ready to play fast.
We'll stay on third row on the left.
Which linebackers have kind of stood out to you or impressed you so far in fall camp?
Ish Harris and Montreal. Montreal, he's been grinding real hard. He's moving. He reminds me of myself. He's moving real fast. Like his drills, he having a lot of intent behind his work. So like I feel like once he gets everything down, he's going to be a great, tremendous player.
All right, everyone, go into the back behind the lights on the right.
Edrin, secondary-wise, with, Jalen having to play more last year, and then what you have coming back with Antonio and Damani, just experience-wise in the back end, how does that benefit a defense?
Just us having experience together, I feel like it's more of a connection. So, like, us communicating on the field, like, I feel like that's the best thing to have is communication on the field. And we just, like, when we're out there, we just click and everything is real smooth.
We'll go front row on the right.
Edrin, it feels like nowadays in defenses, there's positionless players. To have somebody like AJ who can move around and play in the nickel, can play free safety if you really need to, you can play him at the cornerback on the perimeter. What does that do to set up the tone for the defense?
It sets a lot, having a player like that to be able to move around, and if something happens, like somebody goes down or wherever, be able to move him around and we still be in a good spot. Like I feel like that's a good expectation.
Anything else for Edrin? All right. Thanks, Edrin.
Thank you.